Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast, where we celebrate individuals and families, businesses, and organizations that seek out and promote the exploration, stewardship, conservation, access, and enjoyment of the outdoors. Gulf Shores and Orange Beach Tourism is the sponsor of our episode today. Warm temps and fresh seafood make the Alabama Gulf Coast the perfect beach destination for your family vacation, couples getaway, outdoor adventure, meetings, conferences, and conventions. Melea Hames is our guest on the Outdoor Adventure Series today. Melea is the social media manager at Visit North Alabama, also known as the Alabama Mountain Lakes Tourist Association. Melea will share the association's mission and introduce us to the North Alabama Waterfall Trail, one of the signature experiences designed to promote tourism in the 16 North Alabama counties. And really surprised here, and I'm going to definitely talk to Melea about this. She is also the host of the Unexpected Adventures in North Alabama podcast. Melea, it's a pleasure to have you on the Outdoor Adventure Series. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so honored you asked me to be on your show.
Fantastic. Well, we do have to give a shout out to Kay Donaldson, who's the director at Alabama Bass Trail, because as she was on our show last week, in fact, our episode with Kay will be published. Get to Know You will be Wednesday, and the episode will be up on Thursday. But she said, man, you have to learn more about the waterfall trail. You got to talk to Melea. So, well, here you are. And
Yeah.
I think as I was kind of joking with you, this is not your first rodeo. How does it feel to be on the other side of the mic?
Much more relaxed. I just get to sit back and answer the questions and just be the guest today.
That's a wonderful thing. That's a wonderful
Yes.
thing. Well, first off, I do share with many of my listeners and a lot of things, actually. I sometimes feel like this show is a little bit of a therapy session for me, but I used to live in Alabama for a
Okay.
year. I lived in Montgomery, and I would travel up to North Alabama. I think I got as far up as the Muscle Shoals area, and I knew there was water up
Yeah.
there, but I had no idea that besides golf courses and like the Robert Trent Jones
Mhm.
courses, there was so much nature and trails and
Yeah.
waterfalls in the state. And I look back and I'm thinking, I missed out on a lot of stuff. I did. And I would love if you could, for our listeners, kind of first introduce us to yourself, who is Melea Hames, and then let's talk about Visit North Alabama and how'd you all get started?
Yeah. Well, I'm Melea. I'm the social media manager here. It's Visit North Alabama on social media. So if you want to look for us there. I have been here in June. It's 13 years, so I've been here for quite a while. I started off part-time. I always joke that now social media is my thing, like, that's all that I do, and in the beginning, when I came, it was like a list of all these other tasks that they wanted me to do, and it was like, "Oh, and by the way, keep our Facebook page up to date." And so I've joked how just keep our Facebook page up to date has now become my whole job. So that is fun most days being on social media. Of course, like you mentioned, we started our podcast a couple years ago, which has been so much fun. My background, I went to school at Auburn, War Eagle,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
have a degree in PR and journalism. I did that, worked for an advertising agency in Atlanta, minor league baseball team in Columbus, Georgia, which was a ton of fun. Then I went back to school and got my master's to teach English. So I proof a lot of the things around here. And so I
At
did
least you
that.
have somebody to do it.
Yes, right. So I taught middle school, coached cheerleaders for a few years. Excuse me. Taught at the community college level for a little while and then ended up back in PR. So I just kind of use all of it.
Fantastic. And I love the journey that folks go on. And my I can't decide whether podcasting is my full-time job and coaching is my side hustle or vice versa. But I do a
Yeah.
fair amount of career coaching, and I love when I listen to people talk about their work, especially when they're doing something they love to do, they really
Mhm.
enjoy, because they just light up. And
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything worse than going to a job that you do not like.
Yes.
And I'm sure you have a lot of work, and there's a lot of things that there's a lot on your to-do list, sticky notes or whiteboards,
Yes.
whatever you use.
Yep.
But it comes across as you really enjoy this work, working in the
Mhm.
association, the PR, and how could you not like the outdoors in North Alabama and what you all have to offer?
I know, right? I mean, it is a fun job. I mean, we're in hospitality, so
Mhm.
the majority of the people in our industry are very friendly because, again, hospitality, hospitable. We're trying to bring people to our region and our different towns and everything like that. So it is a lot of fun. It's really fun when I do get to go out to our attractions, the outdoors, the indoor stuff, all of it. But yeah, kind of funny you mentioned about loving what I do. When we first started, or when my boss first said, "Hey, I think we should do a podcast." And I thought, "Ooh, I don't know if that's really in my comfort zone." Like, and I'm thinking, "Oh my goodness, all I do is talk all the time. Like, why did I ever think that was not in my comfort zone?" And it's so funny how I went from being hesitant to I can't even imagine my life without it now. So, yeah, I do light up when I talk about our podcast. So,
Very good. I would love to, before we leave today, you said something I find is very interesting, is your boss said, "We need to do a podcast." And I find that very interesting because as a podcaster, I mean, it's
mhm,
easy to find guests. At the end of the day, it's
yeah,
very easy.
yeah,
And if somebody says no, that's okay. Thank you very much. Because I know
yes,
the next 2 or 3 calls is going to turn into a guest.
yeah,
But what I don't hear a lot is the associations like yourself, Visit
mhm,
North Alabama, who have a podcast and have fully embraced it and understand the value of it. So I would like to learn a little bit more about that, but not just yet,
mm,
because I want to talk
okay.
about those waterfalls because that's
Yes.
why we're here. So the association's been around for since 1964.
Mm,
I would say that that year is somewhat important to me. I mean, I just am kind of sharing my age a little bit. We're not really, maybe I'm a little older, maybe I'm a little younger, but somewhere in that time frame. But the whole idea of a concerted effort to promote tourism, and now here we are, 2023. People are
mhm.
wanting, after post COVID, want to get out, enjoy nature, and discover what's in their backyard. So, tell us more about the origins of this waterfall trail.
Yeah, several years ago, probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, our president, Tammy, had come across a brochure, I think in South Carolina. It was one of her peers in the tourism industry and saw that they were doing a waterfall trail. And she thought, "Oh my goodness, we have tons of waterfalls in North Alabama that need highlighting like this." And so that's one thing about my boss, about Tammy, is that when she gets an idea, she runs with it until it is complete.
I love it.
And it was a great idea. It is one of our most popular pieces that people pick up. Sometimes people will say, "Oh, print is dead." And we're like, our waterfall trail brochure begs to differ because we run out of that thing on a regular basis. And so anyway, we got with several of our partners around our local CVBs within our region, and we just asked them, like, what are some waterfalls that you recommend that we put on this trail? And of course, we wanted them to be the ones that are the most easy to get to for people. Now, some of them require a little bit of a hike or whatever, but we didn't want them to be like there's tons of waterfalls in Bankhead that are off trail.
Mhm.
And so we do kind of steer clear of those because we don't want to just send everybody out to Bankhead and be like, "Oh, hey, find these off trail waterfalls," because you really need someone who knows what they're doing.
Mhm.
So we have 14 waterfalls that are fairly easy to get to. Some of our most popular ones, of course, Nakalula Falls in Gadsden is a really popular one that people love to visit, and it's very easily accessible. because that's another thing that we put on our website as well for people that have mobility issues. You could roll right up in a wheelchair and see this
Mm,
beautiful waterfall. Of course, you could also hike down below it and see it, but it's a little bit more of a strenuous hike to do that. DeSoto Falls is probably one of the most visited waterfalls as well in Mentone, and it is so gorgeous. It's absolutely breathtaking to see that one. And then Little River Falls, we use this photo that one of our partners, John Dersham, had taken, and it's got the gorgeous, orange, red leaves in the background, and it's absolutely breathtaking. So those are some of the ones that are really popular in our
okay,
area.
okay. Usually I wait to the almost the very end, but I also I share a lot of things again. I'm a very opportunistic podcaster, and on our show notes on our website, outdooradventureseries.com, we like to put collages. And so
Yes,
I would love some of the photos of the falls, especially if you
yes,
can, the one you just described with the red leaves,
absolutely.
and just to make some collages for our website, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, Again, I'm very opportunistic. I gotta take advantage of those things. You said something as you were highlighting a couple of these falls and the idea of accessibility. Of the
Mhm.
14 falls, are all of them accessible or just a handful of them?
There's just a handful. Nakalula Falls is one that's easily accessible. There's
Mhm,
Coldwater Falls in Tuscumbia in Spring
mhm,
Park, and it's actually a man-made waterfall, but it is
yeah,
still so pretty.
mhm,
And that one has a little flat path that you can just, if you're in a wheelchair or you're not able to climb or walk very far distances, it's very easy to see. DeSoto Falls is easy to see from the top. Now there's like a kind of rocky walkway to get to
okay,
see like the bottom of the falls, and that was a little more difficult. Little River Falls is probably one of the best ones because it
okay,
has a fantastic boardwalk that leads down. And as a matter of fact, I took my mom in a wheelchair
okay,
and took her to see it, the leaves, one fall, and it was very easy to, get down there and then get back up. Well, kind of pushing back up is just a heads up when you're pushing someone, you gotta use a little extra elbow grease, but
gotcha, gotcha.
it
Y
is really easy to get down there and see the falls.
Okay,
So
okay.
those are some of the ones that are the best.
Alright, and why I this is an important point is in the entire outdoor space, hiking, biking, trails, accessibility is a big issue.
Yes.
And when communities set out to promote tourism in their areas, it is really good to see that
Mhm.
a demographic who is in need of some assistance
Right.
because has access to the same beauty as
Right.
anybody else. And also, I want to shout out to the Outdoor Writers Association of America. And one of the reasons why we are even doing this podcast today is the association is having its annual conference next month down
Mhm.
in Gulf Shores. And our keynote speaker, if I'm not mistaken, uh, he's going to be on the podcast supposedly next week, Corey Lee, who is an accessibility figurehead and talks about accessibility. He like travels all over the world in his wheelchair,
Mhm.
and but that topic is just so important, and people
Yes.
are passionate about it wherever they're at, and so it's
Yeah.
great to see, if not all the falls, a significant number of them have options for folks that
Yeah.
have some issues with the accessibility.
It's really funny that you bring up Corey Lee because I don't wanna give away too much, but he is actually in Alabama right now, in North Alabama,
Hmm.
and he is doing some work for us to highlight the outdoor opportunities that are available for people who are in wheelchairs or mobility issues. So,
Oh
as
wow!
we speak, yeah, I
As
shared
we
a bunch of
speak.
his stories last night where he had arrived in Gadsden, and I guess, I mean, we've been thinking about this because of course we want to appeal to everyone. Like you said, I mean, everybody deserves to see the
Hmm.
beautiful things all over. But I guess got it was really brought to the forefront of my mind when my mom was not really able to to walk that well. And I mean, she has a walker, but
Mhm.
long distances, wheelchair is best.
Yes.
And so it really got me thinking, like, oh my goodness, okay, life has changed for us. Like, where can we go? And you have to think about things in advance when you want to go somewhere if you're in a wheelchair. And
Mhm.
so it was really good for me to, I guess, have that experience that opened my eyes to do these things. Because I did a blog post as well for accessible waterfalls
Mm.
and highlighted the ones for people, and I share that from time to time of just, here's some outdoor opportunities that are easy to do, so,
Very good. Very good. Well,
yeah.
it's truly a small world. So if you
Yes.
do chat with Corey, do let him know. By the way, I heard you're going to be on the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. And he
Yeah.
hopefully will say, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
rather than I have no idea what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
And
So,
that's part of our, working agreement here is that he's gonna be on our podcast coming up to talk about the things that he found, and so that'll be fun.
excellent. Excellent. So you've got 14 trails. You have a brochure. Now, is the brochure, I'm assuming it's available either to be mailed or as a PDF on the website?
Yes, both. Yes, you can go to our website, northalabama.org, and you can download it or you can request it. So, but yeah, we're in the process. We've got 14 waterfalls on there right now, and we're in the process of expanding that to
Okay.
include some more. And we have an ambassador program, kind of like our influencers, and we're working with one of our ambassadors who is always out and about at waterfalls and different outdoor attractions, and so he's gonna be helping us to choose some more. And these may not be as easy to get to, but we're gonna indicate that on there, like, "Hey, if you're looking for a little bit more of a strenuous hike, these are some of the ones that you might wanna take." So, but yeah, we just wanna expand it because, like I said, I mean, it's known as the land of 1,000 waterfalls, so
Really?
we need 1,000 waterfalls on here, right?
There you go. No
That's
pressure. No
way too
pressure.
many.
Now, I'm curious. So I live out in Las Vegas, and
Mhm.
no, I don't really go to the Strip. I love the nature, the national parks, and
Yeah.
the state parks that are around me. And I use a device on my smartphone called All Trails, where I can
Okay.
check out trails and there, whether it's strenuous, moderate, or easy. Are trails like the waterfall trails? Are they also included if you perhaps on apps like All Trails or where else do they show up so people know to come and visit and have fun visiting these trails?
Yeah, I have heard several of our ambassadors mention All Trails app, that there are a lot of our trails, waterfalls, things like that are on there. The ambassador that I mentioned has his own website, and he
Okay.
lists all kinds of attractions, and he's an engineer by trade, so his directions and descriptions are very detailed and very to the point, very easy
Okay.
to read. So, yeah, they show up on a lot of places.
Okay. Very good. Now, when I was chatting with Kay the other day, and she was talking about the lakes where you would go bass fishing, and I should know the number of lakes that there are. I want to say it's 13, but again, it's still early. I may not have that number
Yeah.
correct. But she was mentioning that it's not just about putting a boat in the water and going fishing. You want cash registers to ring. How has the or have the the waterfall trails impacted like the local area? Because when I lived in Alabama and I would travel throughout the state, there were some towns that I visited. They were beautiful, but
Yeah.
they were also in need of a little injection
Yes.
of economics, tourism, something that to promote themselves. And I love the waterfall trail because that's a great way to promote the
Mhm.
local community. So can you speak more to that?
Yeah, of course, Kay is absolutely correct. I mean, that's what in the tourism industry, we talk about heads and beds because
Okay.
we're funded by lodging taxes. So that is important to get people. I mean, of course, we want everyone out exploring the outdoors and our locals and everything, but Of course, we want people to come and we want them to spend more than one day. We'd like
Right.
for them to spend a weekend. So we've got some itineraries on our website that include these waterfalls.
Hmm.
So it's eat here, go see this, see a waterfall. So it's kind of incorporating the waterfall into, I guess, a bigger picture, if you will, of, hey, this is a weekend trip we can take, and then we can see these 3 or 4 waterfalls that are in this area. And so we try to make it part of a, like I said, a bigger picture. So people will come, spend the night, stay in the hotels, eat at the restaurants, buy the souvenirs. I mean, even buying gas is part of those tourism dollars that people don't
Sure.
always think about, but
Right.
how are you gonna get here and then get back home? You need gas, so
Yeah. Do you have a sense where visitors are coming from, say how far they're coming from to say go on the waterfall trail?
yeah, we keep up with we keep up with who requests the brochures,
Hmm.
what states, and I mean, it's not every single state, but there are people from all over the country who
Hmm.
will request the brochures. We get calls sometimes, people wanting to know, like, okay, so if I come and I want to see this waterfall, like I put together an itinerary for a guy who just called and he was like, I don't know, where I'm going. I don't know what's close. And I said, okay, let me just put together a little road trip for you.
Oh wow.
So we've got our driving distance, the people in the surrounding states. We also, our target market is up like I-65
Hmm.
corridor because we do a
Hmm.
lot of trade shows in Indiana and Ohio. So we do get a lot of traffic coming from up north a lot of times because of our milder weather. Of course, I don't
Right.
know if right now you would consider it mild. It's been pretty hot, but
Yeah.
it's
You
not
want to talk?
freezing.
You want to talk hot? We can
Yeah,
talk hot.
you've got us beat. I know.
So I'm also curious now with so you've got folks coming in from all over, which is good to
Mhm.
see because that
Yes.
there's a they've either been raised in the state, they went to college, or there's some other reasons why they're coming. Maybe it's the love of waterfalls, and I love the fact
Mhm.
it's not just the collar states, the states that touch Alabama.
Yeah.
It's good to see, and I
Yeah.
love that, and I appreciate the talking about the head, as you said, the heads in the beds and the cash
Yes.
registers singing. If I was going to come to the state and I wanted to explore all 14 of these trails, just curious, how much time should I allot for that?
Ooh, and I've had that question before, and I mean, you could probably do it in a week. You could probably because I mean, our region is probably 4 hours from the Mississippi line to the Georgia line, and of course, we're the Tennessee line, and then we're just everything north of Birmingham there.
Hmm.
So I think you could do it in a week and
Okay.
have a good time seeing other things and not be so like, okay, we saw Nakalula Falls, snap, snap, snap. Here's some pictures. Now on to the next site.
Right.
So I think a week could get it all in.
Okay. Now, if I want to come and visit the falls, are they, and again, where you've kind of touched on it, we're in the vicinity of a small town, an area where I can lay my head on a bed, go to a
Hmm.
restaurant. What other opportunities are arising as a result of these trails being there? So, could be the food trails, the beer trails,
Yes.
the hiking trails. What other services kind of are complementary to the fact I'm going to come to Alabama for a week and I'm going to visit these falls?
Yeah. Well, we often pair we have an itinerary called the Waterfall and Wine itinerary, that
Okay.
road trip. And because we have, there's 6 wine trails in North Alabama. 3 of them are a little bit outside of our region, but 3 of them are in our region. So it is totally doable to take a weekend, visit those 3 wineries, because they're more on the northeast side of
Hmm.
our region. There's several waterfalls around, Nakalula Falls, DeSoto, Little River Falls, so you could make a whole weekend of visiting those wineries that are family owned and operated. We also have a craft beer trail, which
Mm,
is very popular.
I can imagine.
Yes, it's a good one. But yeah, and that's another thing going back to the point of trying to get people here is that visit a brewery, visit a winery, visit the waterfall trail, and we have a barbecue trail.
Mm.
So I mean, you've got your wine, your beer, your barbecue, your waterfalls. I mean,
I'm thinking just sign me
it
up
just
there, Melea.
yeah, just come on down.
Yeah, sign me up. I mean, you went over the top when you said barbecue, so it's
And I'm telling you, there's some amazing barbecue in North Alabama. I know every region says, "Oh no, our barbecue's the best." We will go toe to toe with no, our barbecue is the best.
I love it. I love it. When I lived in Montgomery, my account manager took us to this barbecue place in Montgomery, and it's like, oh wow. And
Yeah.
then all I can remember though, I used to go to a place called Martin's, and they had it was like home cooking. They had fried chicken every
Oh,
Friday night,
yum.
which is probably why I spent the rest of my life trying to get rid of the stomach. But no, it sounds like a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
there's just yeah. And again, I look back. I only spent a year and I did travel, but I realize now I missed out on a lot because there was a lot of other
Mhm.
opportunities to take advantage of the community and where you are today versus 1964. I'm sure it's night and
Yes.
day of what you all have to offer.
It's amazing. Yes. And that's one reason why we named excuse me, our podcast Unexpected Adventures is because a lot of times people are surprised that we have all this. I mean, even is we target like over in Georgia, like the Atlanta market.
Mhm.
And a lot of times people in the Atlanta region are surprised that there's so much over here to do, like the craft beer trail and the wine trail and the waterfalls and all the outdoor opportunities. And so it's kind of like, hey, once you've explored your area, come on over. It doesn't end. There's more over this way. But yeah, it has grown. I mean, even in the 13 years that I've been here, it has grown so, so, so much with the trails that we have and the members that we have. And so it's fun.
Eh, I seem to recall an episode, and may very well be with one of the guests I've had as I prepared for the Outdoor Writers Association of America's conference next month. But tourist dollars seem to be much more effective and powerful and expansive than, say, drilling, putting an oil well out on the East Coast or drilling in a mine. And again, it's part of the economy. I get that. But when you turn the community into a tourist destination with
Hmm.
waterfalls, barbecue, wine, beer, hiking,
Yes.
you really can't go wrong.
Yeah, and those tourists, I mean, I know that there are some towns that don't really like not in our region, of course, but, we've heard of some towns, shall remain nameless, that they don't want the tourists coming. They're happy
Okay.
with their town the way that it is, and,
Okay.
I mean, I guess you have to respect that, but the tourists who come in, they help pay our tax dollars in
Yeah.
the area. They, I think it's something like 500 and something dollars per year that we
Hmm.
save because of tourists who come to Alabama and stay the night and do all the things and eat and buy gas and buy souvenirs and then go back home. And then the same like when we travel to other
Hmm.
places, I keep in mind like, I might make a purchase. I really didn't need that. I'm like, yes, but I am helping the local economy.
Right. I love that.
And then it makes you feel better about your purchase that you made.
Hmm. Very good. So,
So,
so let's talk a little bit more about the Unexpected Adventures in North Alabama podcast. Now, how many
yeah.
episodes in are you?
I am recording number 50 next
Number
week.
50. Okay.
Yes. It's a
So
big
you've
milestone.
a very, very big milestone. Congratulations. A future
Thank you.
congratulations on that. And how long has the podcast been live?
We started it in, gosh, I guess it was in 21, the end of
21.
21. Yeah.
Okay.
Time
Okay.
goes by so fast. The years just blurred together. But yeah, I guess it was September, October 2021. So,
Okay. And you are enjoying that experience, and
Yes.
your president is happy about
Yes.
she's got her podcast, okay,
She is very happy. I'm very happy. We're all happy.
okay. What was the biggest aha moment for you doing this podcast?
I've gotta say, I got an email because we use a production company,
Mhm,
in Utah, and, my producer sent an email one day, and she said, "Oh, what's a good mailing address for you? Because, the podcast won a Muse Award." And I'm thinking, "Okay, way to bury the lead there," you know? And so then I looked up I kind of heard of the Muse Awards, but I wasn't super familiar, so I looked it
okay,
up. It's an international competition for creative professionals and everything, and, I mean, the award was absolutely gorgeous. It just was one of those things that I thought, "Wow, this is really something. This is really special,"
mm,
and not only do I love doing it, but, people have recognized that it's a good product that we're putting out as well, so that
very
was
good,
definitely an aha moment last year.
fantastic. Now, are your episodes, are they solo? Do you have interviews, a combination? What's kind of the format for you?
Yeah, in the very beginning, I had, a co-host that was with our production company, and then she left to take another job, so in the beginning, it was the 2 of us, and I'd have a guest on every now and then, but when it was the 2 of us, I could talk a lot about the things going on or the attractions or whatever, but then when it became just me as the host, it became necessary to always have a guest on. So I always have one of our attractions on, somebody, one of our partners is on there with me.
Okay. Well, you have fertile ground for
Yes.
having guests across
Yes.
many topics, and that's nice. And the duration of the podcast, is it an hour, 30 minutes? Where's your sweet spot?
We try to keep it around 22 to 25 minutes, but
Okay.
sometimes there's just a lot to say. So we have had them to go up into the 30 minutes of even there was one that was even kind of 40 minutes, but people's attention span, even my own attention span, they like them around 20 minutes. Those are the
Okay.
ones where we have the most consumption when they're around 20 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
So,
And as you look back, and this sounds like this has been a great experience for you. Any
mhm.
lessons learned about yourself, or how has, in addition to the award, how has the podcast
Mm.
help to promote the northern counties and the work that you're doing?
Yeah. It it's well, let me say this first. I guess personally and professionally, it's been amazing. I feel even more confident having done this. I even noticed when I speak to people how it's changed how I speak, like on something
Mhm.
like this. Sometimes I'd get nervous, and I've noticed that from doing this, it's helped me clean up my own speech.
Right.
And even when I go and speak about social media or things like that, it's really helped, but it's boosted my confidence, it's given me a renewed passion for my job.
Mm,
It has been very interesting to watch who our audience is
mhm,
because we started off the podcast wanting to attract a younger audience.
mhm,
Because typically our audience on social media is women 35 to 54.
mm,
Those are usually the decision makers of you know, planning trips and
mhm,
everything. So we thought, okay, let's try to get into more of that millennial crowd, that younger crowd. And it's been really funny because our audience has been like maybe even 50 and up.
mm.
And we've watched it shift from predominantly women and now it's predominantly men. And so it's just funny to watch, or say funny, it's interesting to watch how the audience evolves as the followers grow and the episodes grow, so that's been quite interesting.
Very nice. And
Yeah.
the president, Tammy, she's like thumbs up, and this is great.
Oh, yeah. And every time she goes to speak at a lot of different places, and she usually makes people subscribe before they leave the room. I always say, she holds them hostage until they click that button on Apple
Yeah,
Podcast.
it's really funny, but I have a couple of clients, I think that's brilliant, absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant. It's like, "Look, if I'm coming here to speak and
Yes.
I have something you're it's a value, here's what you need to do before you leave." So
That's right.
that's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious, before we head out today, any other advice that you would give to someone who's wants to plan, say, a trip to North Alabama, visit the trails, the craft fruit
Mhm.
trails, the wine trails, the food? Any advice that you, besides visiting the website, which of course has a lot of great information, any other advice? Just maybe they've never thought about doing this. So, what would be your, say, your pitch to them to come
Yeah.
visit us?
Well, on social media, of course, I want to send people there. That's my job as well. I would say follow us on social because I do highlight a lot of events. I also on Friday like to highlight the free things to do. So I like to
Mhm.
throw in something that doesn't cost anything. So I would say follow us on social. Of course, go to the website as well to plan your trip. Call if you want the brochure or you can download the brochure. But I would say look at all the trails and find a couple of things on each one of the trails to do to plan a whole weekend trip. Plan the whole package there. The food, the drink, the outdoors, the indoor, the museums, things like that.
Okay, very good. Now, speaking of the website, if our listeners would like to learn more about the work of Visit North Alabama, the website address again is
NorthAlabama.org.
okay,
Mhm.
northalabama.org.
Yeah.
And I know on the social sites you're on Facebook and on Instagram. Anywhere else that you would like to send our listeners to?
Yes. Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn,
The
all of
whole
them. YouTube, and
the
we're
whole
Visit North
shebang.
Alabama. Yep, all of them.
I love it. I love it. Well, Malia, it has been a pleasure to have you on the Outdoor Adventure
Yeah.
Series podcast. I truly appreciate your flexibility and joining us as quickly as you did. So, really
Yeah.
want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day and joining us.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This was a ton of fun.
I appreciate that sentiment, and anything I can do as a host to make my guests comfortable. And it's great every once in a while to be on the other side of the mic. So I
Yes.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
And again, thank you for taking the time. Stay in the line. We're going to do a quick close and then you and I can have a final chat. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay, folks, we have just been chatting with Melea Hames. She is the social media manager at Visit North Alabama, formerly known or also known as the Alabama Mountain Lakes Tourist Association. And on today's episode, we were really getting educated in a way. I feel like I should have known this, but I didn't. But, you know, Alabama is a beautiful state. Having lived there and traveled throughout the state many years ago, what I never took advantage of was the outdoor experiences that were available to me, especially in North Alabama and here through Visit North Alabama. Their promotion of the tourism opportunities, the experiences, whether it's the waterfall trail, hiking trails, wine trails, craft beer trails, barbecue. That's the one that took me over the edge. So, barbecue, waterfall, and craft beer. I think I'm all in. And really want to encourage you to come out and plan your vacation and visit North Alabama and take advantage of everything that they have to offer. I really also want to thank Melea for taking the time. This was like kind of a last minute booking, and we really appreciate her showing up today. And I was very surprised to learn about the this wonderful podcast, the Unexpected Adventures in North Alabama podcast. So do check them out on their sites as well. In fact, all of this can be found on their website, which is going to be visit well, it's going to be the northalabama.org. That's their website. And they can also be found on Facebook, Instagram, and the other social sites, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. I think I'm missing one, but we'll have those back in the show notes. As for us, I do want to thank um, Gulf Shores and Orange Beach Tourism for sponsoring this episode today. And again, a quick shout out to Kay Donaldson at Alabama Bass Trail for introducing us to Melea. Now, remember, with Gulf Shores and Orange Beach Tourism, to begin planning your beach vacation, getaway, or outing, visit Gulf Shores and Orange Beach Tourism's website at gulfshores.com. As for us, you can find us on our website, outdooradventureseries.com. We are also on Facebook and LinkedIn on our Outdoor Adventure Series pages, and we can also be found on YouTube and all the podcast directories. So wherever you get your podcast, just search for Outdoor Adventure Series. And if you're on Apple or Spotify, or you go out to our website, you can comment on our episodes as well, and also sign up to receive notifications of future episodes. Okay, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day, and we will see you on a future episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. Take care now.